Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by Shadified Salon and Barbershop. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and we have two of our co hosts with us this evening on probably the hottest day here in Alberta, plus 38 with the Humidex, I guess it is, but a great day. We haven't been on in a bit. This is actually our first podcast since the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. I got to throw that job in, I guess you could say. But anyways, it's been our first pod in a while, and our co-host here, yeah, our co-host is this evening. We got Brody McIntyre, aka the closer. Closer, what's going on, bud?
A little concerned for my AC unit is what's going on. It's been running since 2 days ago. I'm like turned off. I hear it buzzing in the background, but we're enjoying summer. It's been awesome.
There you go.
The people who complain about the weather, they should, I don't know. Don't be grumpy, man. It's good. Yeah. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing, especially when you get those minuses in a consecutive in a row. But the other voice you heard is Clay Vanderham. Vandy, how's it going?
Vandy is dandy. I beated the heat, if that's even how you say it. Today I was on the ice with our co-host there. He runs camp, a skate with his younger guys, so I was out giving him a hand there, and so we cooled off for an hour and a half, but out at that silent ice, what a facility, boy.
So who you're with? You're with Rupper or
I was with Rupper.
Rupper, nice.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
How is that facility?
It's incredible. It's if you're building a rink, go and look. That should be a template on how you do it.
Yeah. Is there 2 sheets in there or 3?
Yeah, there's 2. Yeah, 2. One, Hatch is the main one. Hatch is the sponsor.
Yeah.
And I think Hesco sponsors the other one.
Nice.
Free advertising. Look at that. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. A free plug for sure. Yeah. So no, good on that front. That's awesome. And yeah,
how's Bosco?
Bosco's good. The new job, just killing it, having fun there. Good people. My superintendent is a diehard Oilers fan. When the Oilers pushed to Game 7, he's like, "I'm not coming in. I'm going to fly to Florida." So he flew to Florida with a couple other people. And
are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's a big time Oilers fan.
A lot of people did that.
Man. Yeah, so just like he's like, if they get 7, I'm going. And Sunday night, obviously the game was Monday. And yeah, he was only in Florida for probably maybe 5.5 hours, but it was a long truck there, and he flew his way there with a bunch of other people. I think his father-in-law was with him too. But yeah, he's a beauty. His name's Leon too, so I guess that's a good name because you got Leon Draisaitl, and we'll get into that conversation as well. But yeah,
there were a couple 2 chartered planes that went from him.
There were
that I know about. I'm sure there was more.
Yeah, there could have been more. He said his flight was pretty full of people too, but he did actually, you know what? I don't think he went from here to there because he did have to take a stop in Ontario. So because they drove they drove somewhere into the US and then flew from there. He said it was a hell of a travel just getting there, but he said no regrets. Obviously you would want the team to win, but yeah, no, it's a good we got a good crew there, and opening up some maybe new doors with the company. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe my role might change, but yeah, Shandos, good company, and looking forward to kind of building that relationship. I spent about 4 years with Bird Construction, so a bit of a same thing, but just a bit of a change, and being home every night. And we were on the ice with their Southside Athletic kids on Sunday. They actually power shut out middle of the drill, so the whole facility at Kinsman went out. So so that was unfortunate.
That doesn't happen in the bubble.
No, it probably does not. But yeah, we were out without power for there, and so yeah, they gave us an extra slot of ice at the end of July. So, but yeah, Doug's in Red Deer right now doing his HP1 course. Peter Schaefer's there, and Willie Desjardins and Ian Herberts were there today too, doing it's a week-long course. So good on Doug, our head coach. But yeah, everything's going pretty good. And I know Doug has his underdog camp, but let's change gears and talk about the North-South conditioning camp closer. You guys got some good dates coming up. It's filling up as we go, but can you talk about this conditioning camp that you and Rupper and your wife have put on for several years, and how do people get involved, and what kind of things do you guys work on during that week?
Well, it started it's got to be 5 years ago, and we were tired of giving people lots of money to do hockey camps. and you'd come back and they'd all be the same and nothing really, people stand in the line, they go around some pylons and they go back. And I was like, there's gotta be a better way, Rupert. And then they went to Umberto's, who's unbelievable. And then we decided just to do our own, and it's kind of grown over the years. And now we have U13, U15, and U18 one this year. So still need a few U18s and few U13s.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's filling up nicely though. It's good. Then we do more like hockey specific stuff, like more, D are picking up pucks and D forwards are doing wall work, that kind of stuff, right? Zone entries and actual hockey stuff instead of just random drills. So yeah, it's been good. And
then there's an off ice stuff too, right? You guys do some
sorry, yeah. I should Yes, I should actually remember. My wife takes them for an hour.
Oh,
that's trouble. Before or after the skate, they kind of switch, and one group does the first, one does after. So yeah, they're bagged by the 2 hours, so it's good.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, the kids are tired and in better shape.
There you go.
And ready to go to camp too.
Yeah, because it's right around that time to get into tryouts and everything.
Yeah, August 5th through 9th.
Yeah. And it's out in St. Albert, correct? Right? Always?
St. Albert, yeah. You can just get a hold of me or even go through you.
Yes, and you could follow them at North South Conditioning Camp on Instagram. I believe that is. We put it in our story today, so if you're currently listening to this podcast, it'll still be there, and we'll actually share it every day as it fills up and closer to the date. So we'll share it in our story. Yeah, we'll share it in our story every single day for people to get a gauge at, and then it's pretty cool. And your kids and Rupper's kids are out there too, and many other great kids are out there as well too. So
absolutely.
Do you guys have any kind of NHL alumni come out, if that's not too forward?
We've had Pizzani's come out a couple times, but no, I don't know if anybody's coming this year. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So we'll find out.
Okay.
I don't know yet. We'll find out. Schwartzy says come out in the past. I'm not sure.
Okay. You know what? Maybe I'll send that Instagram post to Matt Benning, who's close to that.
St. Albert guy, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I'll toss that to him. I know he's in Italy right now, enjoying some vacation time. But so great there. But man, there's so much to get into, guys. But the one thing I want to kind of get into, I know I didn't put it in the topics there, or actually I maybe did, but Jessica Campbell becoming the first female assistant coach or any kind of coach behind an NHL bench with the Seattle Kraken, as Disco Dan Bilesma returns to the NHL as a head coach and takes over after 2 successful years with in the American Hockey League, going to the finals with Coachella Valley. So just kind of your guys' thoughts, Vandy. I'll throw to you first on Campbell, kind of being that first female getting into the NHL ranks and maybe opening up doors down the road, and your overall thoughts of this and what maybe you know of her or not knowing, just the fact of like how cool this story is right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's from Saskatchewan. What is with Saskatchewan and just pumping out coaches?
Yeah, you got that right.
No, I mean, good for her. It's in this day and age, everything that's happening, it's a big stepping stone. I mean, you take a look at what the PWHL is doing and how that particular league is growing, and what they're doing on their end, creating a fan base and creating a competitive league for the women to play in. And now, she's just a pioneer and what she's doing. I'll be honest, it's not really a household name.
And she would even say that too.
Right. So like, it's not like it's a Haley Wickenheiser or a Mary Philippoulin or like any of these ladies, Spooner or any of these. So, I mean, good for her. She's obviously put her work in and she's getting recognized for it. And I don't want to play devil's advocate. I do wonder how the dynamic is going to be on the bench, because we're competitive by nature. So are women, not saying that, but like, I wonder how that aspect will play out.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's on the NHL show.
Right.
Well, maybe, you know what, Cameron Hughes is obviously a friend of our podcast, and that was an assistant coach he had for the last couple of years. So maybe we'll reach out to Cameron Hughes and kind of you know, get him back on the pod. Obviously, he signed with the Dallas Stars after 2 years with the Seattle Kraken organization, but maybe he might be able to shed some light on that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be not even a concern. It would just, you know, how that dynamic would be interesting to hear how she handles that.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, let's face it, there are some meatheads in the league, not saying on her team, but like playing a game where, you know, there's still
some stories
guys like that where they're gonna take a shot at her.
Yeah.
And you know, so anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, good for her. Yeah.
Exactly. Closer, your thoughts on you know, Soup, as her nickname is, Soup Campbell, going in as assistant coach with the Seattle Kraken.
Well, it's a good story, right? It's a really good story. I think she's probably even more brilliant than she's being portrayed, to be honest. I think for her to get that position, sadly, I think she'd have to be smarter than a lot of males. So I think I don't know if that's crazy me to say that, but I think she's probably brilliant is what I'm trying. Is probably a better way of saying it. So I think it'll be cool to see.
Yeah, no, it's a good story for sure. And definitely opening up some doors down the road, you know, in that aspect too. So, you know, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. And like you say, maybe on these Amazon stories, maybe it's something like that is brought up and brought out. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to kind of how that shakes down. I got a PK Subban story I want to share real quick. It's pretty funny. So I ran into him during the Cup final here in Edmonton during like the off day. And I said, hey, would you want to come on our podcast? I told him some of the people we know, obviously Vernon Fiddler and Mike Fuda, who he's good friends with. And he's like, yeah, for sure. Here's my agent's number. Call my agent, set it up with him. So I sent his agent a text and his agent called me. And he just said, yeah, PK's busy. He won't be able to do your podcast.
Yeah.
So I was listening to Cam and Strick, and the same thing happened to them. And they're way bigger than us. So Andy Strickland from the Cam and Strick podcast, which Vandy, I know you're a big fan of that podcast.
Yeah, I am.
They did the same thing to him too. So
big league away.
They big leagued him. So obviously Cam Johnson was kind of like, yeah, that's not cool. So
that agent loved making those phone calls, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Like that was pretty interesting.
Well, didn't Johnson play with him in New Jersey? No, maybe not.
Well, no, I don't know if he would have. Yeah, you're right. That would have been a while back. But anyways, it was just interesting. Like, I guess like Andy Strickland said it the best way. He's like, the second you tell me to call your agent, that pretty much indicates that
he's blowing you off.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's like when I go on a call and the guy says, I'll get my purchaser to call you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Purchaser ain't calling you.
Yeah,
right.
That's not happening. So yeah, we got pigeon tossed by PK Subban.
I don't have you watched any of the ESPN? Like the dynamic between Messier and PK is kind of unique. Interesting. I think we talked about this before, but
yeah, I listened to Messier on Spit and Chicklets, and by the way,
that was incredible.
It was a really good interview. I don't know RA at all. I've never talked to him, dealt with him or anything, but I know they kind of said he's going to deal with some stuff over the next 2 weeks. So on behalf of our podcast, we just want to say, you know, hope you're well, RA. I know he probably won't even listen to this, but you know, we're thinking about you. And like Biz said, everyone loves a great comeback, and I think there'll be a great comeback for him. But he's taking some time off, which is pretty rare that he doesn't, because the guy's a workaholic. But
I think
he's going through a lot.
The on-ice incident at fucking with the Panthers. So I think that.
Yeah, that was pretty.
He's probably in the penalty box for a bit there.
Yeah, there's probably more to the story than those guys were saying on the podcast, but.
And he's done a shit ton of interviews where he's completely mammered.
Oh yeah, he was wrecked. Yeah, in Edmonton, it was wrecked.
Him and Terry Ryan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Terry Ryan got kicked out of the elbow room in Florida. So.
Love it.
But anyways, yeah, just thinking of RA and PK, definitely interesting to see. It was funny because they were talking about, like, they were comparing PK to like Wayne Gretzky, and they're like, Gretzky's just like, yeah, just text me when you want me to come on your podcast. Like, and then PK's like, yeah, call my agent. So I thought that was pretty funny in terms of that. But I don't know how many podcasts he's ever really done. Like, I know he's big on Pat show on ESPN, but and yeah, to your question there, I don't know, that dynamic between them and Mess and him is interesting. It was a really good interview for sure. But they had Chelios there, but they didn't bring him back this year. So those two are there for sure, but we'll see how it goes. I do think the US, like ESPN and TNT, have done a good job growing the game of hockey in the US, and Tyler Toffoli was on with us recently and he had kind of agreed to that as well too. But yeah, definitely kind of cool. But and then I guess kind of the big news today, guys, it's not really a lot. We'll get into kind of what's happened lately, but the big news today is it's official. Joel Quenneville, Stan Bowman, and Al McIsaac can be hired by any NHL organization as of today. So they obviously got reinstated on July 1st, and the kind of release was saying by July 10th, any organization can hire them. So in that aspect, the Oilers are still looking for a GM. The Columbus Blue Jackets are still looking for a head coach. Closer to you, kind of, where do you see, Quenneville or Bowman kind of going here? Do you think, the Oilers are on the horizon, the Blue Jackets? Do you see them coming back in their roles that they were in before, and meaning GM and head coach? Are they more advisors? Then they lead into their other positions. Where are you at with that?
I listened to Gregor yesterday. He had an interesting perspective. He thinks it's if Bowman comes back and say he's like not allowed to be GM, or somebody doesn't want to hire him as their actual GM just to have it out there, they just hire him as their senior advisor to their special assistant to the GM, but he actually is the day-to-day GM basically.
Yeah.
He hopes that doesn't actually happen. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense. If you just have to change the title, just be the GM and move on.
Yeah.
So I agree with him on that part of it. I think I've asked around. I heard he's really good, and I think he kind of sounds like, I don't know, sounds like he's going to be an Oiler in some capacity from everything you hear and read.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, remember when the Oilers drafted Bouchard and basically knew that in the morning, like, the Oilers are going to take Bouchard. Oilers going to take Bouchard. He'll be there at 10. The Oilers will take Bouchard. Like, how does everybody know this already?
Yeah.
And then it happened. So it feels that same kind of energy around it. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Just the way Jeff Jackson talked about in the question from, from, I think it was Daniel Nugent Bowman in that Zoom press conference. He didn't shoot it down, but he just said, I need time to breathe because I haven't been able to kind of calm down.
Yeah, I think Quenneville gets snapped up right away, and everybody should snap him up.
Yeah, for sure. Vandy, your thoughts?
Especially listening to him on the Cam and that podcast, his side of it was completely different than what we read about, right, or heard about on TSN and Sportsnet, right? It's a lot different.
Yeah. Vandy, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I say, what Brody said, what Gregor mentioned on his, I've heard that too, where these guys, if they are hired, they're not going to be hired in a set position right away. They'll be advisors off the start, and then but behind the scenes they'll be go-to guys. Whether Quenneville, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't think he'll get a coaching job per se. I think he'll be like an advisor.
I think Columbus should hire him tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the Columbus job is between Jay Woodcroft and Todd McClellan right now, but I don't know how Joel Quenneville wouldn't be in there if that's a position that you would probably like.
I heard Everson today too.
Woodcroft. Dean Everson. Sorry. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see where these guys go, and I think it's been a long time they've been out, so they're due to come back, and I think
But I mean, I know everybody, a lot of talk is that they don't want Bowman here, but if he's the best guy out there, or one of the best guys out there, would you not? Why wouldn't you take him? It's not like he's been out of the game and not been like, obviously he hasn't been at a desk, but I mean, the way he obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's 3 cups in 5 years, right?
Now, is he a good right? And is he a good fit? I don't know. Like, I really don't know I know obviously his family history and stuff, but like was he a pivotal part of bringing that team together, or was he walked into that?
Well, we know Dale Talon was the GM
Right.
before he came in, but Dale Talon was moved out because of the qualifying offers that he didn't put in time. So that some of the players that they ended up losing, right? So some of those key players that they lost after the first cup. So I think Bowman he was in the organization, I believe, in some capacity.
Oh yeah.
At the time, and then definitely the last two cups he was the GM. So I think the guy knows the game very well. Like Chicago won in a way we haven't really seen a lot of their teams win. Like Chicago just said, whatever. We're probably not the most physical team. Like, and it's weird saying that because Brian Bickle and Dustin Byfuglien and Andrew Ladd are obviously pretty big physical players, but they won in kind of a different fashion than some of these other teams like the LA Kings and whatnot. So, and I think the way he put the team together, he deserves the opportunity to kind of get back in. And like you say, like he hasn't. We haven't really ever heard from him in terms of what has happened in his side of the story. We've heard from Quenneville, but we've never heard Bowman never speak. So, it looks like obviously the Oilers want to hire a GM that's going to be with the team, living here year round, and being a day to day. And right, Jeff Jackson still follows back and forth from here.
Well, listen, whoever ran free agency and the draft,
it's a race.
Make him the GM.
Yeah, and I know that
if it was JJ, then I know he doesn't want it, but
yeah. And a lot of it is like and I got this from Gregor's show. I didn't know this because one of the Gregor's co-hosts asked, like, does he live here? And Gregor said, no, he's half in Edmonton, half in Toronto because his wife runs a successful business and is very successful. So, they still, he still goes back and forth between here and Toronto. So, he wants the GM to be with the team a lot. And obviously Ken Holland was with the team a lot, especially on the road. So it would be interesting. And at the end of the day, we can transition over to that. We'll see what happens, who hires them. It does sound like Bowman is going to be the guy here, but where does, Jeff Jackson, fold here? Because do you just kind of keep him on? Because he's going to be a big part of the Leon contract, the Bouchard contract, and the McDavid contract. That's a foregone conclusion. Those contract extensions, he's going to be leading the charge in that. But Brody, what he's done this offseason, it's like you said it in the group chat, and several people inside the game too would agree with what you said. This is the best offseason this organization's had in 20 plus years. Like,
that's crazy.
They were a goal away from tying it and 2 goals away from winning the Stanley Cup. And they are a 10 times better team today than they were from a team that just were 2 goals away from winning the Stanley Cup. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty scary too. Thoughts?
I'm excited. I need to figure out, well, Clay should be able to help me. I went on Play Alberta to try to bet on the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. I couldn't even find it. I didn't even know how to do it.
They might not have it yet. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. The additions of Skinner and Arvidsson to me that's another one. It seemed like it was a foregone conclusion. He was coming to town here. And the deal they got on him is insane. So what you're seeing now is people that want to come here and they're willing to take a discount or sign a very reasonable deal just to come play here. Like Skinner is trying to make another $50 million contract or whatever, 30, whatever the number is, by coming here, lighting it up with 29 or 97 and then giving them a hug and saying thank you very much when they get a giant check for a long-term paycheck and they can win, right? It's a beautiful problem to have. And as an Oilers fan, it hasn't happened forever. I love it.
And you're going to have a lot of players between now and the end of these contracts, and meaning the next 9 years, these guys that can't win a cup anywhere else, they're going to come here and these 1-year deals for under $3 million.
They're everywhere.
They're star players, they're top 6 players, they're Arvidssons, they're your Skinners, and they're going to do it. I know like their narrative out there is that offense wasn't their problem, but it doesn't hurt. I look at it in this aspect, and this is we'll transition over to Stuart Skinner in this because I want to get you guys' thoughts on this aspect too before I'll throw it to Vandy on the other part here. But the fact that you got so many great players that want to come here is such a blessing in a way, and it's great for the organization. And look, like you had Connor Brown making $4 million last year. Now he's going to make $1 million this year. Like it doesn't happen a lot, but the picture behind you, Vandy, for people that are going to watch this on YouTube, is Jeff Jackson. Where are you at with the 10 days he's had here in free agency, with the Savoy trade and all that? Like, the Oilers have one of the best players not playing in the National Hockey League in Savoy right now too. So like he's easily their number one prospect, and he's going to be the best. He's probably going to be the best prospect come in the Penticton tournament come September 11th.
Not probably.
Well, he is. Like Zane Parekh might put up that argument between there. They're both drafted at the ninth position.
Right.
So I would just, say that, Zane Parrett's probably going to have a say in that conversation. Obviously, two different positions, but right now, I would say, because the 2 years experience of hockey growth and going into a third in terms of Savoy probably edges out Zane Parekh in that aspect. But your thoughts on Jeff Jackson? Sorry, Vandy, go ahead.
Well, no, man, it's all in one. I think in 2005, that summer when we got Pronger, and then you saw, Samsonov, all these guys started filling in, and you started getting these top six guys that filled a need, even though, we barely made the playoffs, but we made it to the Stanley Cup, lost, same scenarios what happened this past year. But it's a shift in the culture of the Oilers. You're seeing a complete 180 from what we've been accustomed to for the 90s, early 2000s, even to the last 10 years, right? And you're seeing, buying into the, I want to go play in the Sunshine States where there's no state tax for this, that, the other thing. At the end of the day, these guys are professional hockey players and they want to win. I think Adam Henrique proved that when he re-signed here, because nobody thought he was going to sign here. I didn't think so. He's one and done, and away you go. And here he is now.
He turned down more term and more money in other organizations and took less to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
For what team? Sorry.
Columbus was in on him.
Was Toronto in on him?
No, Toronto wasn't in on him, but there was, I think there was 4 teams. I know the biggest term he had was.
Anyway, yeah, he turned down.
Yeah,
because he knows
5 years, $5.5 million.
He's been there before, and he knows how close we are.
Yeah,
he knows how close the Oilers are, right? So and that says a lot. And what that does now is, what that organization, Jeff Jackson is the face. But what's going on behind the scenes, obviously, it's a complete shift. Like we're turning into a legit contender year in, year out. And when you have 2 of the best players in the world, that's what you need. You need to build shit around them, and that's what we're doing. And you get a healthy Connor Brown. If he's on your third line, it's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Jury's out on Jeff Skinner. That's the only one where I'm like, nah, I don't know.
Guys magically have a way of lighting it up in there when they need a contract, right? Guys like him.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I know Ray Ferraro kind of had a comment being like, well, there's a reason why Buffalo bought him out and got rid of him, right? And he's like, they know what Oilers don't know, and then the Oilers will know what Buffalo knew in terms. That's kind of his.
But here's the difference, and it goes back to what I was saying about the culture shift. Is you got guys like Corey Perry who are teaching Connor and Leon how to be leaders. You got guys like Ekholm teaching Connor, Leon, Bouchard how to be leaders. Darnell Nurse can be thrown in there. Stuart Skinner can be thrown in on that too, being the core. Nugent Hopkins and whatnot, but they feel that if Jeff Skinner's going to come in here and just play maybe 100-foot game and not play the 200-foot game, then the Chris Knobloch doesn't need to talk to them. He doesn't need to go to Jeff Skinner and go, you got to start back check. Not saying that he's not a back checker or anything, but this is the work ethic. This is where you need to be if you want to play in the top 6 of the Edmonton Oilers. If you want to play, and what it does too is, I can't remember where I heard this. I might have read it somewhere, but is the Oilers can't rely on, and Rucker said this numerous times, they can't rely on this power play for a minute and 30 seconds, minute 40 seconds.
And
so now you have Jeff Skinner. Now you can work on a PP2, right? Where
do you think our is going? He's going to be Hyman.
Right.
Yeah, he's
You think so?
Second power play.
On two.
On two, yeah.
Yeah.
And I lost my train of thought. That's what I was trying to say earlier too, is the fact that that you brought these guys in and then Henrique comes back. I don't think we're going to see too many nights of Connor and Leon playing 26 minutes. Is my
right? No, they should go play less, but 18.
100%, and that's
be ready for the playoffs.
Yes, and because I think they ran out of gas in the Cup final, knowing that they gave everything they could. They were injured, like the injuries that these guys were fighting through everything. But I just think more or less the fact, like, because people are like can come out hard on being like, well, the offense wasn't their problem. Well, in a way, it was in terms of being like less than minutes. Connor, Leon, Nuge, and Hyman. So, and we all like Evander Kane is an X factor here in terms of what I'm hearing is Evander Kane will be ready and raring to go come September 19th when training camp opens. So
imagine him, Henrique, and Brown as a third line.
Like,
that's crazy.
And now that pushes Janmark to your fourth.
Yeah.
Oh, Holloway's a fourth liner,
right?
With Janmark and somebody.
Yeah.
I have a theory too, guys.
Go ahead.
When the Oilers are perennial Cup contender, the Corey Perry's and Henriques every year are going to keep coming here. Not only is that good for the Nuges of the world, but think about Holloway in 5 years when he's had 5 years of different 38-year-olds who have trying to win a Stanley Cup who have been doing this for 20 years. How do you think he's going to be? Right? It's going to be nothing but a huge advantage for Holloway in 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're more worried about Holloway. Like obviously his next contract is going to be maybe $1.2 million. But when Holloway's making $4 to $5 million, that guy is going to be probably a 30 and 30 kind of player, 30 goals, 30 assists.
I love him.
So
he's going to be awesome, I think.
Yeah. And he he was always good with his faceoffs in college and in junior. So I don't know if that's a role that they kind of slowly move him into. I'm assuming the reason why they made the Ryan McLeod trade is they were foreshadowing Holloway being that third line center.
1,000,000%.
Right. So
like, he is very physical. Like he must be thick or something because he hangs in there really well against 29-year-old full-grown men, right? Yeah. He's still, I know he's the man, but doesn't have all that man strength yet. And he's bumping into guys hard and hanging in there just fine and seems to quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
He could be Evander Kane, right? On the very high end. I'm not saying he will be, but that style of player,
he's
very
an Alberta boy.
Powerful, a new age power forward, if you will.
But where are we at with the back end? Is that a concern? You're losing Desharnais, bringing Josh Brown in, re-signing Troy Stetcher. Obviously, they were right on Broberg. They were patient with him. He requested a trade. They said no. They need him. So he's a player, and he can play the right side, which is pretty crazy to have a lefty playing the right side and doing a good job with it. But Vandy, where are you at with the back end? Are you is there any concern there? What they have?
I mean, nope, not at all. I mean, we're talking about Broberg playing all of the Stanley Cup finals.
Pretty much the Dallas series and all the Cup final, yeah. So,
right against two, everybody thought Dallas was going to be Dallas, Florida in the finals. So you're talking about two Stanley Cup contending teams. Broberg faced them both and performed very well. Now, a question you have is, do you maybe put Ekholm with Broberg? And can Bouchard carry his own tandem? That's one thing. Because if Bouchard is a $10 million defenseman like everybody says he is, he's got to be able to play with anybody.
That's and him and Nurse, let Nurse just be simple. I think that's a good fit eventually.
Right.
And he doesn't have to try to do anything.
Exactly. So that's where Broberg, to me now, you've got a legit top four. Broberg, awesome. He really impressed me in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's incredible. When was the last time we were able to do that? And I didn't realize how big he is.
Well, Bouchard would be your guy that last time you would, drafted and developed and were patient, right?
Clefbaum too, right? Imagine if there was a Clefbaum right now.
We still have Clefbaum. What? Just
good problem to have,
it's a great problem to have.
Yeah. So obviously Ken Holland has done some good. Obviously there's
answer your question. No worries on the D.
Yeah. And Brody, you got no worries either?
No, who cares, right? You can't. It's a cap world, and they just as is basically. I mean, who cares? It's not to be addicted to Darnay, but potato. He's basically a 6, 7, 8 defenseman in the NHL, and they just brought a couple of them back in. So who cares? They just lost in Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals. They're just fine. You can't have a perfect team, right? There's no perfection amongst a team.
No,
right?
Right.
There's got to be holes.
Now, you've got Troy Stetcher, who has 500 NHL games.
Yeah,
who is going to be your 7th defenseman?
Yeah, that's good.
Possibly, right?
Yeah,
that's competition. That's
bigger
what we've never had. We haven't had that
too, right? So that's what I like. He plays bigger. Like he's not the tallest defenseman, but he plays like he's a 6'2" defenseman. Interesting about this draft too. So this is the third time in history since the NHL draft has been. So dating back to the first time it was, but this was they went back to the sides in the draft. So there's 131 players that were 6'2" or between 6'2" and 6'5" that got drafted that were 6'2" were in that height and around 200 pounds. And there were 34 players that were drafted that were 6'5" and bigger. So size was a theme in the NHL draft this year. So interesting. That's the third time that's ever happened in the history of the draft. So something to keep an eye on in terms of, is that a new way we're going here with size and strength and in the fact of we're getting a lot of these bigger players drafted. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I don't know where your guys' thoughts on there. I don't know if you guys knew that stat at all, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. Sam Cosentino was talking about that and in the fact that was kind of a theme there. So last one on the Oilers, and this is more of the Four Nations Cup / Olympics theme, but more of the Four Nations Cup. Stuart Skinner showed that he can do this in my eyes. I know that maybe that second goal kind of wasn't a goal that you would want in, but the fact that Stuart Skinner is going to be a goaltender on Team Canada's Four Nations Cup, and that he's going to have that experience in February before he goes to the playoffs I think it's saying something. The fact that he had a good long run this past year, he's going to probably, Canada, there's a good chance Canada can win the gold medal in this tournament too. So if he's the starting goaltender and wins that with that group of players and that coaching staff and that experience, that's only going to bode well for his development going forward. Am I wrong to think that, guys, or where are you at, Vandy?
Well, even if he isn't the starter,
it's
just by osmosis and being around everybody. It's going to help him being around. I don't know who the other goaltenders will be. Is he pegged to be on the team?
Right now, he's the peg to be the starter. Bennington is the backup, and Connor Ingram.
That's right. We got a little bit of a lull.
Yeah,
in goaltending right now.
Aiden Hill's in that mix too, but injury.
Yeah, I would think. Okay. Okay, but yeah, I mean, even if he isn't the starter, just being around those type of individuals, like-minded individuals, and I think Lemieux said it when he played in the '87 Canada Cup. Just being around Gretzky and Messier and all those guys, and just learning what it takes to win, whether you're a goalie, defense, or forward. It's never a bad thing, never a negative.
Closey, you're shaking your head in a positive way. So you're
absolutely, he's right. And the thing about Skinner is he's really young. Like there aren't a lot of NHL goalies his age who have the experience he has now. It's just, or even being a legit starter in the NHL. There's not a lot of them. So he's only going to get better in my eyes. And this experience will help him. February will help him. The next playoffs will be even better. And he's going to go from being, I hope anyways, from what is he? I don't know, an average NHL goalie. I don't know. I think goaltending is like voodoo too. I think there's like a top X amount of 5 to 8 goalies, whatever, and then it's just everybody else.
Yeah,
I think they're all just. I mean, they're in the NHL. They're awesome, but I think he has a chance to be better than those just because of his age and the opportunity he's going to get now, winning cups and getting to play in these types of events.
In being around these kind of the players, the coaches, and all
100%.
that. Yeah. Ooh, Troy Dorchester just took out a barrel, so that's not good for him tonight.
Oh fuck!
Speaking of the Chuck Wagon races, they just took
as long as Ray doesn't, I don't care.
Yes. So
I got a beef with the Four Nations Cup, so
yeah,
it should not be a Four Nations Cup.
No, yeah,
like this is bullshit.
It's better than nothing, man.
Yeah, but you're not. Than nothing, this isn't best on best. Anybody that says it's best on best, you're fucking lying to yourself.
Yeah, it's
that your way. Pasta's not going to be there. Leon, Ovechkin, like come on,
Ovechkin's out of it, and
it's fucking. It's well for Russia. It's because of the
war,
Ukraine war. Yeah.
What about everybody else?
Well, like the Czechs just won the world championship.
Well, because they can't go 5.
Yeah.
Because they did Europe the one year, and then they did that Team North America. Yeah. Like, why not do that again? Like, fuck.
I don't know. They should get these other countries in my opinion. It's
got to be money.
It has to be that too. But
and imagine if we went old school and went best of 3 finals. Oh. Man, they should do
USA,
that.
Canada.
Adapt and change that. Do it right now. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to watch that?
Right.
Imagine it goes to game 3. That's going to be phenomenal hockey.
Yeah.
I won't watch the Four Nations Cup. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. And so let's move over to the Calgary Flames real quick. Obviously, we have a lot of fans in Calgary. Full rebuild. They're going right down to the woodshed. It's pretty obvious. Trading Markstrom was the last sign of saying, yeah, that is full on rebuild. I know they're taking a lot of heat for some of the trades that have been made by Craig Conroy. Not getting guys like not in any of these trades, they never got a Matt Savoy back, a type of Matt Savoy type of player. So that was a big conversation on Oilers Now today with Bob Stauffer and Eric Francis. But he did free up a lot of cap space. They are at the bottom of the league right now. They are the 32nd ranked team for the amount of money that they spent. So they got $22 million in cap space. And they pretty much have everyone signed. So they have 2 open spots. Pretty much it's a 21-man roster to a 23.
They don't even have a starting goalie.
Well, they're gonna give Wolf the starts. He's gonna be the guy. He's been really good in the American hockey the last 2 years. He's won goal of the year in the American Hockey League.
Okay.
I know it kind of hasn't really transitioned overly the greatest, but then there's Dan Vladar too, but who's just come off hip surgery. But those are your goaltenders going forward. I don't know what's going to happen here in terms of being like the Nazem Kadri, the Mackenzie Weegers.
How happy are they?
What about Jonathan Huberdeau?
Well, he spoke. Yeah, he did a really candid interview in Quebec the other day. So
did he? Okay.
Yes, he said it was obviously tying. One of the questions was, seeing the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup. He said that was really hard for him to see that. He's still having a tough time with that. But at the end of the day, he put his whole contract stuff onto his shoulders. He said, at the end of the day, I guys got to be better. I signed it. I got to be better. I have not been good. Yeah. And so he owned up to him not living up to what the contract is and where his potential is. So, he is good friends with Anthony Mantha. So that is a player the Calgary Flames signed. But the Flames are going to be in a full-on rebuild here for the next couple of years until probably the arena opens up. But as first time they've done this in 30 years. Is this the right decision, Vandy, for them? I guess it is the decision at the end of the day, and it's happening. You can't be really that. But they do have some young prospects coming up in terms of their feeder system is pretty good. They got a lot.
Yeah, they've got a good crop.
Yeah,
but
they got.
I don't know. Like it'd be so hard.
Yeah,
it would be so hard. Conroy's in a tough position where you've got Kadri, Huberdeau, Weegar, but you've also got a goalie that really wanted out more or less, and but you didn't get a full return for him. So I mean, I don't know. Do they hope that maybe because wasn't it Vancouver 4 or 5 years ago where they thought Vancouver was kind of in a rebuild and then they retooled and brought in certain personnel.
It went
I
on
mean,
8 years there.
they've got good young kids that who knows they might be able to shock you. I do question their goaltending, maybe a little bit of some of the defense, but there's yeah.
Other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, I know. They're in trouble. I'm trying to be positive, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like
Other
sure.
than
What's his
goalies,
name?
I think it's going to get a lot worse.
Sharon Govich is a good.
Yeah,
he's a good
and they
player.
re-signed him for under $6 million, right? And he's a 30 goal
Right.
scorer. So I do think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. Because I think Rasmus Anderson's probably another guy that you can get a boatload.
That's what I was thinking of.
Right? So
I'd like to just go grab him.
So we'll see what happens in terms of that. And I know Mackenzie Weegar was on missing curfew, and he was very bullish on staying there and saying, "I'm in for the long haul here." But
what's he supposed to say?
Correct, right? He's the guy.
Listen to this, guys. Like this, I went and looked at this today. This is not good. This is their back end. Weegar, Miramanoff, Rasmussen, Ball, Bean, and Pascal. Like that's terrible. Not to be an asshole, those 6
Pascal from Columbus.
I don't know. Braden Pacho.
Jake Bean is a Calgary kid. He was in Columbus.
He was a Calgary. He was a hitman.
Yeah.
Okay. So
his dad used to run the Calgary Flames. He retired. He stepped down this year.
Is he an NHLer?
He is an NHLer. He's an 82 game ever NHLer.
Okay, how about Kevin Ball? He's barely an NHLer.
Well, he played 82 games last year. So
okay, well, either way, that's their back end.
You can play 82 games, but if you're minus 25,
I don't know.
I don't know what they are, but
Huberdeau, Back, and Coleman's their first line, which is decent. But then you're into this website has it as Zari, Shiragovich, and Mantha, and then Pospisil, Kadri, and Kuzmenkov. Like it's okay at best. And then some dudes, Kevin Rooney, Walker Dewar.
Yeah, Walker
and Lomberg.
He had a good year last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not very good.
Oh, Dewar had a good year the year before. He had a horrible year last year.
Oh, okay. Year before.
All right. Before he was good, yeah. When he was on the line with Trevor Lewis and
we're trying to be positive for Flames fans, but really
it's not good.
Yeah, Phil's
you're Bosco, you're right. It's gonna get worse before it gets better because
I do things
deadline.
Yeah.
If they're come November, I think they're looking at what we've gone through.
Well, they've
don't forget they've never really been bottom of the barrel.
Never.
Right? They've always been in that mid-range 10, 11 play draft pick or whatever. So what they're going to do is they're going to be out by November and you're going to see Kadri get traded. These guys, maybe even Huberdeau, who knows, but
great.
Yeah, if you can get Kadri, he's a $7 million player. If you get him at $5 million,
why can't Conrad do us a favor like he did Vancouver? Zadorov and
he sent
do that. Kadri, give us maybe Weegar.
Backlund would be a guy Edmonton would be very bullish on, right? Like him as your third.
How about Rasmus?
Yeah.
Rasmus. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's who they need. They need D. They don't need any more. They can't possibly need more forwards.
Right.
No. They could use Backlund as their third line center, theoretically. And you move Henrique to your fourth. But
that's unbelievable.
That would be that. But I think Backlund's gonna play his thousands game as a Flame and maybe retire as a Flame. But these guys play to win the Stanley Cup too. So they're
buckle up, Flames fans. Sorry.
I think they'll try to do it quicker though with new rink coming. I think they will try to.
They could. If these younger players pan out, like a lot of the picks they took in these recent years have for the 2025 draft. So they're very bullish on this draft. So we'll see what happens in that aspect. But
I hope they're good. I hope they turn around and fast.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing better than Oilers Flames battles when they're competitive, right?
To have some good
ones. Get back there.
Yeah, because the Oilers are going to be good for the next 10 years. So you would hope the Calgary Flames could find a way to get there in the next 2 or 3 years instead of being 7 years away from that aspect, right? So, but as I say, man, like a lot of these teams, you see a lot of these teams go through these highs of every year in the playoffs, and then you're the Detroit Red Wings where you're 8 years out of the playoffs. But like, I love what Montreal is doing. Montreal's like, they're going to be a deadly team. They're stacked. They've done such a good job drafting and developing. Now these guys got to turn out, and it looks like they are going to turn out, but there's issues in that aspect. Buffalo, we'll see what happens there. Ottawa, I don't know. Like, David Perron was a good signing. There was a lot of decent signings, but there's still a lot of good players still not are out without contracts. Oliver Shillington, Tyson Barrie, Daniel Sprong. Like, Daniel Sprong scored 41 goals in the last 2 years, and he has no NHL contract. Like, he had 21 goals with Seattle 2 years ago, and he had 19 with Detroit last year. Doesn't have a deal yet. So,
That's pretty good.
yeah. So that's fourth line minutes, not much power play time really at the end of the day too. So we'll see where even strength minutes for him are pretty good, but I don't know, maybe there's something in there that we don't know about in terms of maybe bad guy in the locker room or something like that, because he's bounced around a couple of teams already. So but anyways, they'll figure it out. There's a lot of money in the system. There's teams still trying to do some work in that, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, in my eyes, I still think it's more of like, especially last year in the deadline, I think it was an 18 months like window for them. So, I know it's Toronto and there's pressure and all that stuff too, but the Leafs can't really do much in terms of, trades or signings or anything, because they have $22 million tied up in two players, and one's going to be off the books next year. And there's possibly, if they don't re-sign Marner, that's another guy that's off the books. So I know they brought Domi back for a pretty good deal in my eyes, for a guy that gets you pretty good points and had some good chemistry with Matthews. But, and you knew you were going to overpay in ways of that Tanev deal. Tanev is not going to play 6 years. We all know that.
No.
That'll be
that's how you get him.
That's how you have to get him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson played pretty good in the playoffs, and he ended up taking over that role in the power play. He surpassed Ekblad, he surpassed Brandon Montour. I know they didn't score, but at the end of the day, against the Oilers, PK, because that was lights out PK. But just the fact that they were able to kind of take him to take that role on. I don't know if he does, but I think finally.
What did he get? How much money did they give him?
They gave him the same as Domi, $3.75 million. So he's under.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
I like what the Leafs did.
I don't mind it. I don't mind
this
it.
Hakanpää is going to be a.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of conversations. Like Bob Stauffer said the other day to me, he says the Oilers don't win if Yanni Hakanpää is in the line against Dallas. Dallas beats the Oilers in that series. That's what he thought. He's like, and I work for the Oilers Entertainment Group. He's like, I think if Yanni Hakanpää is in that lineup, Dallas wins that series against Edmonton.
Really?
That's what he thought. He thought that's how close the margins were, knowing it was only in 6 games, but he's been very bullish on Yanni Hakanpää. He wanted him here. So
I gotta go watch this guy.
So but we'll see how it works out. They obviously got a lot better on their back end. They have a lot of defensemen too, Toronto's, but they loaded up again. And I don't know if Timothy Liljegren's a long-term player there, but and anyways, I don't mind what they did, but I'm overlooking and looking like we know Marner's coming back, because Berube's probably like, I will at least want to see what I can do with this guy, right? And it's all about what happens with them in April in terms of the playoffs, and somehow we can get them. It's not going to work. It's easy to say that, but 8 years tells you it's not going to work. But that's the reality of the situation, just like it's going to be the reality of the situation here in Edmonton, because in 2 years from now, the Oilers are going to be in the same boat with 4 players too, and they're going to have $52 million tied up in 4 players, just like Toronto has had $52 million.
Yeah, but we'll have a cup.
Well, you would hope next year you win a cup. Like they're again, like that's a big argument to say, okay, like there's the aspect on both sides. Okay, Colorado won their cup, but they haven't come close since, right? They got eliminated in the first round, and then they got eliminated in the second.
And they're in trouble.
So you got
if Nikushkin doesn't come back, they're in trouble.
Yeah, well, he doesn't.
I don't think he's coming back. Sounds like nobody wants that guy back, do they?
Not allowed to come back until at least November, anyways. But so you have that aspect. Then you have Florida, the most recent, lost and then won. You have Tampa, went to 3 cup finals in a row, won 2, lost 1. So but then you got Dallas, who went to the cup final in the bubble here and then have gone to the conference final, but haven't gone there. So there's no guarantee, but it definitely looks like, the fact that the Oilers have gotten a lot better, but does Nashville have a say in terms of what they've done? Does Vegas really hasn't done anything in terms of trades or signings? So what do they have up their sleeves? Like, are they going to have a bounce back year? Like, there are still a lot of question marks in the West in terms of teams. Are they going to have a say? The Oilers are obviously by far the best team out West. So does any other team have any say between now and then? And
Vancouver, man.
Vancouver too. They could, they didn't have Demko. So if Demko's healthy in a playoffs, is that a difference maker too? So
of course.
And he very well might be, but it's always going to be a fascinating situation to watch because it's why you get there. There's no guarantee you're going to win a Stanley Cup, but in terms of being the Edmonton look at it, you want to see. So is Toronto's window, not this year? Is it next year? But
how long are your window is pretty small. It's not a good window if you got Stolars and Wall is your goalies, right? That's not ideal. How long are they under contract for?
Well, they just extended Joseph Wall, right? So Joseph Wall makes $750,000 next year, and Stolarz makes $2 million. So
what about the year after that?
So Stolarz signed a 2-year deal, and Joseph Wall signed a 3-year contract extension. So
those are the goalies for the future.
Well, Joseph Wall is your goaltender for the future. That's what you're banking on. So that's a guy you drafted and developed, right? So
how do you feel about that, Bosco?
I love it. I think the guy's proven I think he's proven himself when healthy. And the key word is when healthy. When healthy.
What does the majority of Toronto believe? Toronto fan base, sorry.
Listening to Toronto radio, listening to kind of the fan base, the Pauls, his numbers back up when he's healthy. He's a starting goaltender in the National Hockey League. But when he's not healthy, best ability is availability. And he's not been because when Joseph Wall is hurt, he is out for 3 to 4 months. It's not week to week. His injuries turn into 3 to 4 months, right? So, and the first press conference at the end of the year when they lost, that was the first thing Brad Treliving said. He's got to train different. Got to get him in front of a different trainer. Got to get him in front of different people because whatever he's been doing up to now has not worked because he's not been able to stay healthy.
How many injuries in the last 5 years? How old is he?
Had 3. He's only 23 years old or 22. He's the same age. He's around the same age as Skinner, I believe.
Oh, so he's young.
Yeah.
And how bad what are the injuries?
Well, his last injury was a high ankle sprain. So, and that was
he's 25.
Yeah,
he's 25. Okay, yeah.
So
that's how long it takes.
Like Joseph Wall, now we can argue till the cows come home in terms of, but every single stat, I put it in there from Stat Leaks from Megan Chaika's website. He was first or second in every single category from a goaltender last year when he was in. So,
this is really good, man. His save percentage this year in the playoffs was .86 with a .964 save percentage. And his career stats are 1.78 and a .933 in 7 games. That's really good.
Joseph Wall, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. But it's when he's healthy is the key thing. So, you have 2 goaltenders who regardless at the end of the day, your 2 goaltenders are making under $3 million combined going into this next season. So that's a good problem.
It's worth the risk.
It's worth the risk right now. Now their hands are tied with these no movement clauses and all that. But I don't know seeing him, I'm not a goalie expert, but when seeing him, he looks good. Like I do think maybe if he's in the lineup in Game 7, they beat the Boston Bruins. They're definitely not beating the Florida Panthers in round 2, but maybe with him because the series changed when he took over the net. In that series, when they were down 3-1, he went in and took over that net, and Boston had a tough time scoring against them. And he looked really good. But we'll see where all that kind of shakes out. I don't know where you guys are at with the Leafs before we sign off here. We got maybe a few more things to go. I know at the start you were kind of saying you want to shit on him, Brody, but
no, I just kidding, buddy. But they're very, they are exactly as you just said. Whenever we started this segment, right? They're fine on paper. Well, whatever happens in the playoffs happens. They're either it works or doesn't, and history says it's not going to work. So Show us. And they're the D they got. I like OEL. He's a good player, right? I think you're gonna have Tanev on the back. He's gonna help for the next couple of years. They're better. They're definitely better on the back end. That's really all they needed. But if their goaltending holds up, and I guess they're pretty good still.
Possibly. Well, we could easily go to the salaries. It's the fact that once they get to the playoffs, Austin Matthews forgets how to score. Mitch Marner forgets how to play hard. Like the playoffs aren't to stop.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah,
no.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Vandy.
Okay. Yeah, they're 2 or 3 years behind where we are. Right? I mean, we were asking the same questions in 2017, 2018, whenever the Oilers had that run in the playoffs. But we're the big guys. We need the big kids to score, and look, it ain't easy. Look at Connor and Leon in the last 2 games of the Stanley Cup. We won game 6, Connor didn't score. But game 7, I mean, it's so hard and difficult to win, A, score, B, win in the NHL. That's why it's the hardest trophy to win.
Yeah.
Think about just the playoffs. How many goals were you like, oh my God, that was so tic-tac-toe, beautiful, this, that, the other. Most of them were scored like some guy on his ass slashing another guy and his head's falling off.
Or the goals that are scored like that are scored by like 3rd, 4th liners.
Yeah.
They're not scored by Connor. They're not scored by Kachuk. Barkov scored a really nice one.
Yeah. But scored by the Yanmarks of the world, right? How good is he? He was unbelievable.
The Yanmarks, the Henriques, the Browns, the
100%.
the Holloways, right?
Yeah.
In that aspect. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like Toronto they gotta get. I love what they did. I'm against Toronto all the way, but I love what they did. I agree. Bosco's got a shit-eating grin on his face right now, but it's no, I love what they did.
Yeah, I don't think
they're going to be a competitive team, and Chris Tanev, Hakanpää. I don't know anything about this Hakanpää, but all I've heard is that if he was in the lineup, it'd be a different series. So who knows? But I mean, Tanev, OEL had a resurgence.
Yeah,
in Florida, and not only that, but you're adding a cup.
Yeah,
you're adding a ring to that dressing room, and we've said it a million times. That is so important.
Yeah. Now you got Stolars too, and obviously he was a backup, but Ekman Larsson was a player.
He potentially could steal
the net in that aspect.
Right?
Yeah. So, it's. We'll see what Tree Living does. See where he gets back here in terms of his, if there is any other moves he needs to make, or obviously, trade deadline. We all know these teams make moves, but and does Fraser Mitten, does Easton Cowan come into the conversation? These players that were pretty good.
They should. They have to.
Yeah. So where are they at in their terms of finding their way throughout this lineup? I think that's probably about it. I don't know if we had anything else to go over, guys. Just looking at the list here.
Your sponsor?
Yeah. So we're gonna do. So there's 2 charities we're gonna work with in Calgary in Red Deer. So obviously we've been very close to the Central Alberta Child Advocacy Center. They have renamed at the Sheldon Kennedy Center of Excellence. Sorry, excellence. I can't even speak.
Hard word.
Yes, hard work for a guy that can't.
You may want to say that.
Yeah, exactly. But the Sheldon Kennedy Center of Excellence has now been renamed to that. But we've worked with them for several years, so we're going to be partnering up with them in a couple different ways this year too. And then there's another charity in Calgary too. Paws for Pets that Michael Backlund and Mackenzie Uyghur work with too. So they're looking to branch out here to Edmonton as well too, but it's keeping people with their pets. So we're going to be donating some money to them too monthly. So anytime Backlund and Uyghur get a hit, a point, or a block shot, we're going to donate $5 at the end of the month to them. And then anytime the Edmonton Oilers score or the Calgary Flames score, we're going to donate $5 towards the Child Advocacy Center in Red Deer. Mark Jones, who's the CEO, is a good friend of ours. Mark has been been doing a good job, and that's his why of helping people out. Obviously, the center in Red Deer is something that's near and dear to my heart for many reasons. And they do a great job, and they have done a great job. And Sheldon Kennedy's done a great job too, and being an advocate and helping out. Everyone kind of knows his story, and if you don't, you can find that obviously very tough to hear what he had to go through in that aspect. And we'll do everything we possibly can. We've been helping out the last couple of years and donating some money. I think altogether, guys, in the last, I looked at actually this the other night, we've donated over $60,000 in the last 5 years to charities. Yeah. So
by we, you mean you?
Well, our podcast. So
You.
That's over the last 5 years we've donated.
Bosco, that is unbelievable.
Over $60,000. The Child Advocacy Center in Red Deer has seen the most of that. So we've donated since day one of this podcast, which was Labor Day long weekend of 2018. Jeff Glass was our first guest, and that was the first ever episode. And so we've and at the time this was called the Bosco podcast, and now it's the 2 months podcast, which we have more than 2 months joining us in terms of Rupper 2. So but our name of 2 months is out there. That's why we haven't named it to like the 4 months podcast. 2 months is pretty good. But I was looking at that the other day in just terms of someone actually asked me that, and I kind of went and did some digging and looking around, and it's over the last 5 years, going on 6 this year. It's around $60,000 that we've donated, and so great on the sponsors we have. And if we're looking at adding some new sponsors, so if you guys want to join us, that is where your money goes, is to those charities and others. So we're definitely looking at helping out. And I know we have a good mutual friend here, Vandy. Dino has his Dino sauce. Let's give him a plug. He's looking at probably possibly joining us, and he has kind of been around with us before, but can you talk about your relationship with Dino and the sauce that he kind of creates and all?
Well, I played minor hockey with him, and then junior hockey. He was on the River Kings, and I played for the Royals, and we played against each other, hated each other. And then played ball hockey. He was an unbelievable ball hockey player. He just, like, me and him kind of same build, just going after. It was back when we were way younger though, but playing the snipers and I can't even remember. They were called the snipers.
They were incredible.
There was
a few St. Albert boys on that one. The kid, Justin Kidd, he was
Justin Kidd.
He was a player too.
Musey
and the brothers, they were crazy and good. The teacher, one's a teacher.
Gullicksons?
No, it'll come to me.
Musey's, wasn't it Jason?
Yeah.
Who was? Remember that Ian guy, the big Ian guy that played ball hockey?
Yeah, Ian Paulson.
Yeah,
Vandy, sorry to interrupt. Not a good night for a buddy, man. Ooh, not a good night. It was
Ray.
Oh yeah, he hit the barrel. So yeah, and there was almost a head-on collision coming out of the Yikes.
The only night I don't watch.
Yeah, him and I think is this Chad Fike. They almost hit head on coming. I don't know what happened on the barrel turn here.
Oh, I gotta watch the highlights.
But it's because Fike's horses ran into Corrado's horses. For some reason, his horses went too wide. Holy, yeah, he crushed that 2-barrel coming right out. Didn't hit the first one, but
now did he hit the 2-barrel because of Fike?
Yeah, he did. So I wonder what's
then Fike will get the penalty.
But Corrado's horses went way up higher than where they shouldn't have.
So
he hit that
for
one.
the people that aren't.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
The Chucks.
We're big diehard Chuck Wagon.
So did you see last night when Ben Miller and Vegan, who are
they were going at it? Well, that was Ben Miller's lane the whole way, I thought. No, am I wrong?
I don't know. I have to agree with Billy Melville on this one. I know if
Billy,
it's there,
it didn't look like it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, dude,
But Ben's
If Kurt says it's his lane, I ain't arguing.
No, 4-time champ. So that's what I mean. But
the Duke of Dewberry, I ain't arguing with him.
Yeah, Glass.
When the rock star of the Stampede or the rock star of the Rangeland, is that what he calls him? Anyway, it's oh, that sucks.
Yeah, not a good one.
Hopefully, it's not a big penalty because
it's a 5 second because he hit the barrel, right?
Yeah,
so
but
automatic 5 seconds, and Glass got first place here, so
Glass is running good.
Yeah, but Corrado looks like he's disheveled, so that is tough. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why his horses went that wide up. That was weird. They started a little bit late too, so it looks like this right hook. Yeah, well, you have to find the replay there, Vandy, and watch that.
I'll look at it.
Anyways, yeah, sorry for cutting you guys off. And
all good, man.
We were going to talk some Chuck Wagon at the end anyway, so that's it. Obviously, Ray Corrado's a friend of the podcast, and Kurt Bensmiller. Both these guys have been on with us before, so I'll be hanging with these guys on the weekend. I'm looking forward to that.
Tell them I said hi.
Will, for sure. I know Brody was like, "Who are these guys in the chat?" Yeah, Brody, I don't.
You're just talking a different language.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we talk about it all the time. We should do it and just the four of us go down because
I've never been to a Stampede ever. Is that crazy?
It's unreal, man.
What?
Never been once.
Wow.
Well, I've been to the Stampede, but I've never been to like the rodeo. Like if anything, we should.
That's why I would go. Yeah.
Just go like to some local rodeo where they have chucks.
If you talk to these guys, they say the Ponoka Stampede is the one. They like Ponoka over the Calgary Stampede. I know the Calgary Stampede, the bigger.
Lloyd's got a really good one too.
Yeah,
Lloyd and Bonneville, because they got chucks, bull riding.
Yeah,
they Lloyd and Bonnie put on a pretty good show. I think it's Lloyd has one.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should do it. It'd be fun.
Yeah, these guys, like, honestly, when you text them, they text you right back. They're like good, like they love us, so they're good.
Buddy, I'll bring my trailer and the four of us will just bonk up. Yeah. It'll be a shit show.
We should do it next year for sure.
We deserve it.
Well, I know Kurt's running low this year because he's got a rookie barn, right? Like a lot of the guys he has this year, horses he has are pretty green, so it's a green barn.
Listen, these guys go. Bensmo's got
4 champions,
20 some years. These guys go till they're like 60 years old.
Yeah, they got a lot of years left in them.
Unless you win as much money as
I think the cool story is Ray, because Ray retired and then he came back
100%.
Second year back after, like, last year was his first year back, but yeah, let's see where this all kind of shakes down. Chris Molly hit a barrel too, so he fell back 5 seconds.
He was up there too.
There was quite a few fractions tonight.
Good.
But yeah,
the heat, man, they're hot.
It is.
Right.
It is.
Keep those horses cool.
It is scorching there for sure. So yeah, Chance Vegan got his. He had 1:10.03 was his heat. Wow.
So if you get a chance, watch the Stampede and then watch the wild pony races.
Yeah,
these kids. So they get a team of 3 kids and they're like 12 and under, maybe even 13. I don't know. But 3 kids they shoot the pony out of the chute, and they gotta catch the pony and then they gotta ride it. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. And to see it live, like I've been fortunate enough to I think it was DeBolt Rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
Or Teepee Creek Rodeo is where I was at. My wife's family was rodeo back in the day. She rode barrel race, that kind of thing. And I went there and I'm like, this is incredible. And yet we always talk about going, but we never go. I'm like, we should be going. Anyway, it's fun. Good times.
Yes. All right. Well, let's finish up on that, and we'll see how this shakes down for the rest of the week at the Calgary Stampede. But anything you guys want to add before we sign out?
Stay cool, man. Stay cool.
You got that right. Stay cool.
And quit bitching that it's hot out. It's a good problem.
Right.
Yes, I love it. I got no so I work in a nice air conditioning building. So I'm at the Grant McEwen every day, or as I say, McEwen University. But yeah, I'm inside every day. So, but for my fellow construction workers too that are outside, and the people that are just doing anything outside, stay cool for sure. But you guys take care. We'll chat very soon.
See you, bro.
Take care.
See you, boys.